Welcome to the channel, guys. In today's video, we'll be going over the P365 BB gun and the 9mm. We'll compare them both side by side, talk to you about the specs on each of them, and why the BB gun may be a great training tool for your 9mm. Stay tuned for that. All right, so let's go over what's in the box first. So first, I got this from Proven Arms, actually, and it took about a few months for it to arrive because they were out of stock and they were on back order, but I finally got it at least before Thanksgiving. And it comes in this cardboard box. Go ahead and open it up there. And inside the box, you will get the P365 pistol, air pistol. It comes with an instruction manual that basically describes the air pistol, how to load the magazine, how to load the BBs, and different things about the gun in the description. So you can read that later. That's pretty nice. Also in the box, it came with some BBs, and it also came with a Allen wrench so that you can exchange the CO2 cartridge. Other than that, that's pretty much it. That's the box. So pretty much keep all this together, and I know where to find it if I ever need it. I'm going to keep this out because I use it pretty often to change the CO2 cartridge. So let's go over what's on the box. On the back side of the box, you have the image of the pistol and some descriptions on there of the pistol here. Down here on the table, it tells you that it is a CO2 gas type. Magazine capacity, 20 rounds or 20 BBs. The slide does blow back. It does simulate a recoil of a 9mm. The action is semi-auto. And the muzzle velocity is 300 feet per second, but this is based on different results related to ammo weight, temperature, and altitude. Let's see, anything else? Yep, 4.5 caliber BBs, 4.5 millimeters, so anything 4.5 that you can find will fit in there. And the overall length is 5.8 inches, and it weighs 0.8 pounds. So that's what you get when you receive the CO2 air pistol. So we'll put that there for now. So let's go over first the air pistol. Now the slide does go back, and if you see this top part here, that's just the magazine. When you drop that out, then you can actually take a look at the chamber here. Inside the chamber, you can kind of get a look at that. It is a lot different than a 9mm, obviously, because it's shooting a smaller projectile down the barrel. It does also have a slide catch on it. So when you release that, the slide does go forward. So you can leave that up. Now it doesn't really stay back as much as you're used to on a 9mm. So if you put it back and you lift the slide up, it'll come up about ½ an inch. You also have a manual safety. Now I'm not a big fan of that because my actual 9mm pistol does not have a safety, but I just always leave it off. It could be good if you have kids around or whatever, and you just feel good about leaving that on safe when you're storing it. For me, I just never got in the habit to knock that safety off when I'm going to fire, so I just leave it in the off position. My finger always stays off the trigger anyway, so I'm pretty comfortable around that. You do also get a takedown lever here, which underneath that, when you slide it down, you see a screw. So you're going to need to take that apart, but I'm not going to disassemble this today. That can be for another video. If you guys want to see that, just go ahead and leave that down in the comments section. You also see that there's a curved trigger on the BB gun versus the 9mm comes with this flat trigger. Everything else is pretty much the same. The sights, though, they are not the X-ray sights, just 2 whites and 1 green at the front. Just kind of like what you have on the P365 9mm. Everything else is basically the same. You got like the same grip module, you have the same slide. So that's what's really nice about it, is they're very comparable. So if you do want to use it in your P365 holster, it'll fit perfectly, which will be great for training. So you can just use your typical holster that you always do, practice drawing in the house or outside in the backyard or whatever. Also, another noticeable difference I see on the top is that on the P365 BB gun, you just kind of have a little bit of an indent here, but on the 9mm, that's your ejector pin there. So obviously you don't need that on the P365 BB gun, but they have it there just maybe to kind of simulate that or give you more of a feel of that it resembles the 9mm. You also have the pin on the back, just like you do here. And the back of the slide, you don't get that nice cool little duck anymore on the BB gun like you do on the 365, but it is pretty similar here. So they did change that a little bit. Magazine releases are the same in the same location. and they look like they can still be removed just like the 9mm version. Now, how am I going to tell them apart? Well, actually for the 9mm version, I do keep this whole grip on it. I really know that it's the pistol, and obviously the weight of the 9mm is a lot different than the CO2 gun. So I definitely know that this is the real firearm, and there's no safety, and so I'm not going to mix it up. This is the magazine that comes with the P365 BB gun. Fits in just like the 9mm and comes out just like the 9mm. So that's what's really nice. They integrated the CO2 cartridge into the middle there, and here you just can refill the BBs. So the first thing you need to do to load the magazine of the BB gun is to first take out the magazine, and you can check that the chamber is clear. If you see this detent here, the follower of the magazine, it has these serrated edges. What you need to do is go ahead and push that down and push it towards this way, where you see that there's a little groove for it to catch in. The easiest way is probably do it like that. Once that's down, you can now just pour the BBs in. So take your BBs. There's also this here that you need to push down with your thumb or something in order to pour the BBs into this hole. And if you hold the magazine a little bit more vertically, the BBs should just roll right down in there. And this is a little bit challenging to try and pour it in there without making a big mess. So take your time. You might lose a few here and there. Do it over a table or something so that you can recover some BBs if you tend to drop any, or overfill it like I did. So this is a 20 round magazine, a 20 BB magazine capacity, and there you go. So once those BBs are in there, go ahead and release that follower from the detent so that the spring is able to push the BBs and feed the BBs through the gun. Now to install the CO2 cartridge, Sig provides this fancy Allen wrench. It says CRV 1/4, comes in the box, and you basically remove this little cap that has the hole all the way through actually, and this is plastic by the way, so be careful you don't cross thread them here when you take it out or put it in. Take the CO2 cartridge, pop it in like that from the bottom. This round part of the base of the CO2 cartridge basically fits the round part of the cap here. Go ahead and finger tight that on so that you avoid cross-threading the plastic threads, because if you do that, you'll have to fix that or try and get a new one. And then you tighten the screw or the cap with the Allen wrench so it gets a little bit snug. And then what you really want to do is continue tightening it until you can hear the puncture of the CO2 cartridge, and keep tightening until you don't hear any hissing sounds. I didn't really hear one because it has a really good seal, and that's in there pretty tight. So now with that, you're ready to go. Put that back in the magazine, close the chamber, and let's go shoot a few rounds, okay? Okay, so I'm back with empty magazines now, just to kind of show you guys the comparison of the magazines on here. So these two are the 10 rounder magazines, the stock magazines that came with the P365 pistol. And you can see this magazine with the flush base plate without the finger extension is shorter than what comes with the BB gun. So if you shoot with that a lot, you won't feel the same with the BB gun. But I don't do that. That's a spare magazine that I have. But if you use the other 10 round magazine that does have a slight pinky grip extension on it, they do feel pretty comparable. It's still a little bit longer. As you can see here, it's still a little bit longer on the BB gun. But then if you use one of these, which is the 12 round magazines, then that fits perfectly. So the 12 round magazine gives you the same feel on the BB gun. So if you go smaller than that on the 9mm, then just expect to have a little bit more real estate on the pinky side of it, and you'll probably get a pretty good grip on there. Other than that, you do know that the 9mm does obviously weigh more than the BB gun, so you do feel a little bit of a weight difference if you're carrying it in your holster and you're practicing with it. So just keep that in mind. So far, what I really like about the P365 BB gun is that everything matches to the 9mm with the slide catch, the takedown lever. The trigger is a little bit different, but you get used to it, I think. The grip is the same, and basically the size and everything. So it's a really great training tool, especially when ammo prices are crazy and you just want to shoot out in your backyard and practice and train out there without having to shoot your 9mm. Now I did have a problem with a little bit of a leak of the CO2 right here. So it looks like there's a leak in this little area of the magazine. Not here. And there's no leak there because I tightened it as tight as I could get it. But I think I fixed that. I basically took the screw out and peeled this plate off and kind of maybe jiggled that pin in a little bit and then put it back on, and now I don't really hear anything wrong with it. So it could be fixed now. If I have an issue with it again, I'll definitely tell Sig about it. So overall, the P365 BB gun is a great option if you want something that's very similar to your 9mm pistol and you just want to go out and train without using 9mm. So I highly recommend going out and picking up the P365 Air Pistol if that's something that interests you guys. So go ahead and pick yourself up one of these P365 BB guns and you won't regret it. If you guys like this video, go ahead and click subscribe, like the video, and if you don't like the video, go ahead and click the dislike button twice. And if you really don't like it, click it 4 times.